Ethan had never imagined that his life would take him so far from Earth. The distant planet of Virelia was unlike anything humans had ever seen. Its skies shimmered with shades of violet and gold, and enormous crystal spires rose from the ground, reflecting light like mirrors. Yet for all its beauty, Virelia was dangerous. Rebels hid in the mountains, ambushes were common, and the alien empire ruling the planet was both magnificent and merciless. Ethan was a human soldier, part of a small contingent sent as advisors and guards to the alien court. Humans were rare here, often underestimated. They were considered clever but weak, fragile compared to the tall, graceful aliens with their shimmering skin and elegant movements. Ethan, however, had learned to rely on his instincts, his wits, and his courage. His latest assignment was unlike any other. He was to guard Princess Lyra, the young heir to the alien throne, during her visit to a border region prone to rebel attacks. The palace commanders warned him that many had failed in protecting her, and failure meant death, or worse. When Ethan first saw Lyra, she was nothing like he had imagined. She was tall, her skin glimmering faintly under the sun, her eyes sharp and observant. Her presence alone demanded respect. Yet beneath her regal demeanor, there was a hint of vulnerability, a quiet anxiety about the dangers surrounding her. "Stay close," she said softly when they departed the palace. "I trust you, human. Do not fail me." Ethan nodded. Words were not necessary between them. He understood his duty and he would not fail. The journey was tense. The borders of the empire were rocky and jagged, with narrow passes that could easily conceal ambushers. Ethan walked ahead, scanning the terrain, noting every shadow, every unusual sound. He adjusted their route subtly to avoid the most dangerous paths, earning a small nod of approval from Lyra. Hours passed, and the two moved through the winding canyons, the sound of distant winds echoing off the stone walls. Ethan had prepared for everything, but he knew the rebels could strike without warning. It happened suddenly. A group of rebel fighters leaped from a high ledge, their weapons aimed at the princess. There was no time to think, only to act. Ethan pushed Lyra behind him, raising his shield to block the first blast. He countered with precise strikes using the alien tech he had learned to handle. His movements were quick and calculated, blending human ingenuity with the advanced tools of the alien empire. One rebel fell, then another, as Ethan's focus never wavered. Lyra watched, eyes wide but calm. Despite the danger, she realized that Ethan was not just brave. He was clever, able to predict attacks before they happened. His actions were decisive, and for the first time, she felt a sense of safety in the chaos. When the ambush ended, the rebels either fled or were captured. Lyra's heart still raced, but she was unharmed. Ethan stood before her, his armor scratched and scorched, yet his expression remained steady. You saved me," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "No one has ever protected me like that." Ethan merely nodded. "It's my duty, Princess." Nothing more. But the truth was that his actions were more than duty. They were proof that humans could be heroes, even in a world where they were considered fragile. The alien soldiers around them whispered in awe, some even questioning the limitations they had believed humans had. When they returned to the capital, the court awaited them. The alien queen, Lyra's mother, observed from a distance, her eyes cold and calculating. She had heard the rumors this human had defied expectations. Humans were clever, yes, but they were not supposed to stand out among the Empire's finest warriors. Yet Ethan had done the impossible. The Queen's attendants escorted Ethan to her chambers. The room was vast, with ceilings that shimmered like liquid light, and walls adorned with intricate carvings depicting the Empire's history. The Queen herself sat on a throne of crystal, her gaze fixed on Ethan with a mixture of curiosity and caution. "You are the human who guarded my daughter?" she asked, her voice both melodic and commanding. "Many have tried. Many have failed. Yet you not only protected her, you outsmarted our warriors." Ethan bowed respectfully. "I did what was necessary, Your Majesty. My only concern was the princess's safety." The Queen's eyes narrowed slightly. She had expected humility, but there was also confidence in his tone. Confidence combined with skill was a dangerous combination in her eyes. Humans were unpredictable, and unpredictability could be both an asset and a threat. "You have proven yourself," she said finally, rising from her throne. "But proof alone is not enough. I need to understand why you risk so much for a princess who is not your own." Ethan met her gaze without hesitation. "Because life is precious, Your Majesty, and courage should not be measured by species. Anyone who stands in danger's path deserves protection." The Queen studied him in silence. No human had ever spoken with such clarity and honesty in her presence. Many had tried to win her favor through flattery or fear. Ethan had neither. He had relied only on his instincts, his courage, and his skill. Lyra entered the chamber quietly, her eyes on Ethan. She did not need to speak. The Queen could see the bond that had formed between them. It was a bond built on trust, respect, and shared danger. "I trust him," Lyra said simply. "I would follow him anywhere." The Queen's expression softened just slightly. She had always valued loyalty above all else. And here was a human who had shown loyalty not for reward, not for recognition, but because it was the right thing to do. "You will remain close to my..." Life at the palace was unlike anything Ethan had experienced. The alien empire's capital stretched across vast plains of glowing crystal, and the palace itself shimmered like a gem under the light of 3 suns. Every corner of the building displayed grandeur and power, yet danger lurked behind the beauty. Subtle whispers of politics and treachery filled the halls, and Ethan's instincts were always alert. Princess Lyra had grown to trust him completely. Their bond, forged in the fires of danger, was deeper than mere duty. She confided in him about her worries, her role as heir, the responsibilities weighing on her young shoulders, and the constant fear of rebels attempting to destabilize the empire. Ethan listened carefully, offering advice and reassurance without judgment. "You see things others cannot," Lyra said one evening as they walked through the palace gardens. Her eyes reflected the soft glow of bioluminescent plants. "You notice threats before anyone else. You save lives not just with strength but with thought. Humans, you are remarkable." Ethan smiled faintly. "I've learned from necessity, Princess. Danger teaches lessons that no tutor can." As the days passed, Ethan became more than a guardian. He became a trusted advisor in matters of safety. He watched patterns in the palace staff, detected subtle shifts in alliances, and anticipated potential threats that others ignored. His presence reassured not just Lyra but also the palace soldiers who had once doubted his capabilities. The alien queen, however, remained cautious. She observed Ethan's interactions with her daughter carefully, her mind weighing the risks. Humans were unpredictable, yet there was no denying that Ethan's courage and intellect had already saved Lyra, and in doing so, had prevented political disaster. Then, one fateful morning, the quiet of the palace was shattered. Scouts reported unusual activity in the outer districts. A rogue faction, dissatisfied with the Empire's rule, had gathered weapons and was planning to kidnap Princess Lyra. The rebels were clever, organized, and dangerous. The palace alarm system detected movement along secret passages, and tension gripped the entire capital. Ethan acted immediately. He analyzed the reports, studied the palace layout, and positioned guards in strategic locations. His human intuition complemented the alien technology, allowing him to anticipate where the rebels would strike first. He coordinated the palace's defenses, issuing commands clearly and decisively. Even the seasoned alien commanders followed his lead, impressed by his foresight. When the rebels launched their attack, chaos erupted. Shadows moved through the corridors and weapons flashed in the dim light. Ethan remained calm, using both skill and strategy to intercept threats. He blocked attacks aimed at Lyra, guided palace soldiers to protect vulnerable exits, and created a secure path for the princess to move. Lyra's heart pounded as she followed Ethan, trusting him completely. She had faced danger before, but this time the stakes were higher. The rogue faction was not just a random threat. They intended to seize control of the Empire through her capture. Ethan's mind worked quickly. He noticed the rebels' formations, predicted their movements, and devised a plan that would neutralize the threat without risking Lyra's life. Using a combination of human ingenuity and the alien soldiers' strength, he led a counterattack that caught the rebels off guard. One by one, the intruders were disarmed or captured. In the heat of battle, Ethan confronted the rebel leader. The alien's weapon glimmered with energy, but Ethan was unshaken. He used agility and precise strikes, disabling the leader without causing fatal harm. His actions were calculated, demonstrating skill, intelligence, and restraint, all qualities that even the queen would find impressive. The palace was secure once again. Lyra, though shaken, was unharmed. She looked at Ethan with admiration and relief. "You saved us all," she said, her voice soft but full of gratitude. "I cannot imagine facing danger without you." Ethan only nodded. Duty had guided his actions, but there was also a deeper sense of honor. He had proven, not just to the princess but to the Empire, that humans could be trusted, courageous, and capable of great strategy. The alien queen entered the command hall as the last rebels were secured. Her gaze swept over the scene, taking in the disciplined soldiers and the single human at the center who had orchestrated the defense. Her expression was a mixture of awe and contemplation. "You have done more than I could have imagined," she said, her voice commanding yet tinged with respect. "You acted not only with bravery but with wisdom. Humans, perhaps I have underestimated your kind." Ethan bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I serve to protect, nothing more." The queen studied him for a long moment. Few beings had ever earned her genuine approval. Her species valued skill, loyalty, and courage above all else. Ethan had demonstrated all three, and he had done so in ways no alien could have predicted. "You will remain here permanently," she announced finally. "Your role is no longer temporary. You are to be the princess's guardian, a protector whose presence is indispensable to the royal family. You have earned my trust, and it will not be given lightly to anyone else." Ethan's mind processed her words carefully. This was a great honor,